Okay, here's a question for you. Is the rain that falls on August 15th actually connected to the Virgin Mary? Sounds pretty straightforward, right? But, well, like a lot of things we explore here, the answer is a bit more complicated.
It usually is, isn't it? Especially when faith and culture intersect.
Exactly. So today, we're doing a deep dive into this really widespread belief that links rain on August 15th. That's the Feast of the Assumption of Mary with something, divinely significant.
Right.
Our mission basically is to unpack that connection, try to sort of separate the official church doctrine from all the rich folk traditions surrounding it.
And see what that tells us about how faith, culture, and even the natural world weave together.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a good stack of articles, some research and insights into different religious and cultural practices to help us figure this out.
It's always fascinating how people find meaning in nature and link it to their spiritual lives. That line between formal teaching and cultural practice, that's where things get really interesting.
Totally agree. So let's start right at the beginning. What is August 15th in the Catholic tradition? What's the core significance?
Okay, so August 15th is the Feast of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. The core belief here is that Mary, Jesus' mother, at the end of her life on earth, was taken up body and soul into heaven.
Taken up body and soul, okay.
Yes, that's a fundamental belief in Catholicism. It's formally defined doctrine, and it's a really significant day for Catholics everywhere.
And it's not just a sort of minor date on the calendar, though.
Oh, no, far from it. It's one of the most important Marian feasts globally. You'll see special masses, big processions, blessings. It's particularly visible in countries with large Catholic populations. A major celebration.
Right, so a huge religious event based on clear doctrine. Now, the rain part, this is what gets me. If the Assumption itself is doctrine, does the church officially teach anything about rain on that day? Like, is it a sign from Mary? A guaranteed miracle?
That's the key distinction, really. Officially, no. There's no church teaching that says rain on August 15th is directly connected to the Assumption itself.
Oh, okay.
It's not considered miraculous or, guaranteed by the church. The Assumption is a theological truth, totally separate from whether it happens to be sunny or rainy that day.
So if it's not official doctrine, where does this belief come from? Why do so many people connect August 15th rain with Mary?
Well, that connection is almost entirely down to folk belief, local traditions. It seems to have really strong roots in farming communities.
Farming? How so?
Think about it. Marian feast days often fall around important times in the agricultural year.
Yeah.
Planting, harvesting, transitions between seasons. So farmers, whose lives literally depend on the weather, naturally started noticing patterns or attaching significance to the weather on these important religious days. It grew over generations.
That makes sense. And rain, it has so much symbolism tied to it, right? Purity, blessing, new life, things often associated with Mary.
Exactly. That symbolism is powerful. You start hearing folk sayings describing the rain on August 15th as, say, Mary's tears of joy.
Tears of joy.
Or maybe Mary watering the earth before she leaves. It taps into that symbolism of blessing and renewal.
Interesting.
And there's another layer too. In some coastal Catholic communities, the Assumption is sometimes called Our Lady of the Sea.
Our Lady of the Sea. Never heard that one.
Yeah, and in those places, rain or even storms on August 15th might be seen differently, perhaps as signs of her protection for sailors or her intercession. It really shows how these beliefs adapt locally.
It's just fascinating how faith and culture kind of blend together, making spiritual beliefs relevant to everyday life and the environment.
It's a beautiful blend, really. Agriculture, weather patterns, Marian devotion. It shows how deeply the feast became part of people's daily reality. As folk custom, though, not doctrine.
Right, the custom aspect is key. So let's dig into some specific examples. How does this play out in different countries? Give us that aha moment. What about, say, France?
France. They have a great one, very tied to their agriculture. À la mi-août, pris au compte-gouttes vos 1000 barriques de vin.
Okay, my French is rusty. What does that mean?
It translates roughly to mid-August, rain drop by drop is worth 1,000 barrels of wine.
Wow, okay. So it's all about the grapes.
Precisely. Gentle rain around August 15th is seen as a fantastic sign for the upcoming grape harvest, crucial for French wine, a blessing for the vintage.
Very specific. Okay, how about Spain? Similar agricultural focus.
Spain has a lovely one too, quite poetic. Si llueve en la Virgen de Agosto, ljueve mili mosto.
If it rains on the Virgin of August.
It rains honey and grape juice, or mosto is technically unfermented grape juice, the precursor to wine.
Honey and grape juice, so sweetness and richness for the harvest.
Exactly. It ties the rain directly to blessings for honey production and, again, the vineyards, prosperity from the land.
That's beautiful. Let's jump continents. You mentioned Catholic regions in parts of Africa, Rwanda, Burundi, the DRC. How is August 15th rain seen there?
Yes, that's a really powerful example of how these ideas adapt. In those areas, rain on August 15th is often called blessing rain.
Blessing rain.
August can be a transitional weather time there, maybe between dry and rainy seasons. So this rain is seen as incredibly important, like Mary watering the land, preparing it for the next planting cycle.
So it's linked to future harvests.
Deeply linked. It's seen as a sign promising a good harvest, peace, fertility. It blends Christian devotion perfectly with local cultural views about rain's life-giving power, especially vital for farming communities.
Amazing. And one more, Malta. An island nation must have its own take.
Malta does. They say, Il bambina tipkifu ipksad.
Il bambina, the Virgin.
Yes, essentially the Virgin cries over the harvest.
Right. Is that good or bad?
Well, that's the interesting part. It could be interpreted either way. Tears of joy for a good harvest, or maybe sympathetic tears for the hard work involved, or even sadness if the harvest looks poor. It's very evocative, very emotionally connected.
So we've got this incredible range of beliefs, these folk traditions weaving around the Assumption. How should someone, navigate this? Someone who maybe grew up with these sayings or finds them meaningful. How do you respect the tradition without confusing it with doctrine or slipping into superstition?
That's a really important question. The sources we looked at suggest a kind of thoughtful balance. It's about respecting the faith and understanding the difference.
Okay.
The church teaches the Assumption as a core truth. That's solid. But it doesn't teach that rain on that specific day is guaranteed or miraculous. So the advice is generally, cherish these traditions. See them as beautiful cultural ways of expressing devotion.
But don't mistake them for official church teaching.
Exactly. Hold on to them as cultural expressions, not binding rules.
And what about rain just generally? If it's such a potent symbol, can we connect with that meaning without being tied to August 15th specifically?
Absolutely. A good way to look at it, suggested by some sources, is to see any rain as a potential symbol of God's providence, his life-giving care, maybe reflecting Mary's maternal watchfulness over creation.
So appreciate rain whenever it comes.
Right. It lets you find that spiritual connection, that sense of blessing in nature, without needing it to fall on one particular calendar date. It broadens the perspective.
That helps avoid superstition too, I guess, like thinking, oh, it didn't rain, Mary must be upset, or it rained, it's proof.
Precisely. The tradition, at its best, doesn't seem to encourage that kind of superstitious thinking. Instead, it suggests using the weather on August 15th, whatever it is, rain or shine, as a moment.
A moment for what?
For prayer, for gratitude, for reflecting on Mary's role in the bigger story of salvation. It turns the focus inward rather than demanding an external sign.
So it's about preserving the cultural beauty, the poetry of it, maybe.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. These folk sayings connect faith to the everyday farming, nature, the seasons. They're part of Christian cultural heritage in many places. Keep them alive as that heritage, as poetry, but remember they're symbolic. They aren't literal rules or weather forecasts.
And ultimately, what's the main thing believers should focus on when it comes to August 15th?
The core spiritual meaning. Mary's Assumption is fundamentally about hope. It's seen as a sign, a promise, for all believers about our own destiny, eternal life with God. That's the central truth that should guide faith, much more than whether it happens to rain or not.
That's a powerful anchor. And just quickly, for the farmers, we talked about any practical takeaway for them. How do they balance tradition and, farming realities?
It seems to be about integrating both. Welcome rain whenever it comes, obviously it's helpful, but also plan wisely. Use good agricultural practices. Prepare for drought. Don't base your entire planting strategy only on whether it rains on the feast day.
Right. Combine faith and common sense.
Exactly. It's a blend of reverence for the tradition and the resilience needed to work the land.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Our deep dive suggests that if it does rain on August 15th, you can see it as a really beautiful symbol of blessing, something rooted in these incredibly rich folk traditions found all over the world.
Right, a cultural echo of faith.
But if it doesn't rain, Mary's Assumption, the core belief, remains just as powerful, just as true, completely independent of the weather.
Absolutely. The real meaning isn't in the clouds, it's in that profound hope of resurrection and eternal life that Mary embodies for Christians.
A final thought for our listeners then.
Maybe just to reflect on how deeply our human belief systems, our faith, get intertwined with the natural world around us. It creates these amazing layers of meaning, doesn't it? And exploring that can enrich how we understand both our faith and our culture. It's quite beautiful, really.